Hello everyone, this is going to be my no-nonsense guide to fixing SteamVR's controller delay on Oculus headsets. A quick note before we get started is that this won't help you if your game supports Oculus's native SDK, such as Pavlov. When trying to open it, it asks you if you want to open it in SteamVR mode or Oculus mode. If your game is like this and has an Oculus SDK, then this will not fix your issue. The reason these games have Oculus SDKs is because they have issues within SteamVR itself, and doing this will still be running SteamVR and will just simply fix the controller's delay. So this won't fix your ability to not be able to throw things properly in Pavlov if not using Oculus mode, but this will fix your problem if you're having trouble throwing grenades in Half-Life Alyx, or anything in Half-Life Alyx for that matter. Other than that, let's get right into it. The very first thing you're going to want to do is head over to Steam, and there you should have SteamVR. You can search it here if you can't find it in your Games tab, which it probably won't show. And if it doesn't show, you also might need to switch the filters and stuff to make it appear. Once you're at SteamVR, click Properties, Local Files, and then click Browse. After doing so, you should see this folder show up. What you're going to want to do is click Resources, head all the way down over to Settings, and then you want to mess with this file, which should say something around VR settings, default VR settings, or something like that. Just not driver defaults. You're going to want to double click it, or you're going to want to right click it, and then click Open With, which isn't here for me because I've already done it, but you'll click Open With, and then open it with Notepad. After opening it, it should look basically like this, maybe a little different because mine has an extra space because I've already messed with it. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click Enter twice, move your arrow key up, and then Control V what's in the description. You're going to want to paste this into here, add another space so that it's two spaces and not connected to anything, and you're going to want to put this here. What this will do is it'll have your Oculus tracking being used instead of SteamVR's tracking, which will fix the delay that SteamVR has because it's terribly optimized. All you're going to want to do now is close it and click Save. I'm not going to save it because I've already done it and I don't want to risk anything being messed up, and it's as simple as that. Next thing you're going to want to do is open the Oculus Debug tool. You can access this by going to your desktop, and wherever you have Oculus saved, right click it, open file location, and this will take you to the files of Oculus. You're going to want to go to Support. Next you're going to want to click Oculus Diagnostics, and then open the Oculus Debug tool. Once you have the Oculus Debug tool open, what you're going to want to do is head over to Asynchronous Space Warp. You're going to want to set this from Auto to Disabled, and then close the Debug tool. Next thing you're going to want to do is download a software called Prio. Links in the description to where you can download it. Simply download prio.exe or the 64-bit version depending on your version of Windows, and run it and go through the install process. After installing it, you're going to notice if you click Task Manager and go to Details and right click something, you'll see that you have a whole bunch of new options, but we're going to be looking at Set CPU Priority specifically for this video. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run SteamVR and then open Task Manager. From here, go to Details and scroll down until you find VR Server and VR Compositor. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right-click VR Server, hover over Set CPU Priority, and set that to High, and then click Save Priority. And then you're going to want to do the exact same thing for VR Compositor. Don't mess with anything else here, as it is unimportant and will not help your case. Next, you're going to want to scroll up till you find Oculus's things, and what you're going to want to do is right-click Oculus Dash, set CPU priority, set it to below normal, and then set affinity to CPU 0 as the only accepted one. The next thing you're going to want to do is right click OVR server and then set CPU priority to above normal. You can set this to high, but it really depends on how you want to use it. I personally go with above normal, and I recommend you do the same for simplicity's sake. Just a quick disclaimer before we continue. Doing this will make it so that the SteamVR dashboard will no longer be accessible. So if you have any settings you'd like to change, do so now, as while this is reversible, it's easier to get it over with and deal with it later. This also means things such as OpenVR Space Calibrator or OpenVR Advanced Settings will not work, as you cannot enable them in SteamVR's dashboard. However, the Deca move should still work, as it's automatically enabled with SteamVR. So if you're one of the people who have index controllers to use with your Oculus Quest 2, then I highly recommend not continuing. However, if you're using index controllers, those shouldn't have delay as they work with SteamVR's tracking directly. So the final steps is going to be, now that you open SteamVR, it should show up like this, and you should also see that it's asking you to complete the room setup. Do not complete the room setup. This is what causes the problem in the first place. What you're gonna want to do is close it SteamVR, and now we're gonna do this step again, but make sure you do it after we've done everything else before, or this won't work. You're gonna want to go to Properties, Local Files, Browse. This file should show up. Next, you're gonna want to click Bin, Win64, and here we'll find VR Monitor. We don't want this to run so that the SteamVR thing asking us doesn't keep showing up. You right-click, go to Properties, Compatibility, and set Run this program as administrator. And if you ever need to use SteamVR Monitor, you can create a shortcut to your desktop or just run it directly from here if you ever need to use it. After all the steps are complete, if you boot up a game that would usually use SteamVR, such as, let's say, I'm going to use Beat Saber, I'm going to just show you that I'm not going to use VR mode Oculus. I'm going to take that launch option out, so it should run with SteamVR. I'm going to click play, and you'll notice this shows up. Down here, Beat Saber shows up, but no SteamVR. SteamVR will not show up even though you're running a SteamVR game. And yes, this does work with Half-Life Alyx and any other SteamVR feature, because while it does look like SteamVR is not running, it is running in the background with a lot less usage and no longer using Steam's tracking and now using Oculus's tracking, so the delay should be gone. Now, a final note before ending this video is that if you decide to close a SteamVR game, after doing so, you will need to open Task Manager and force end the VR server task that we scrolled down and saw earlier. That is the only way to close games, as if you hold the Oculus button and click Quit App, that'll simply close the application and not close SteamVR, and then you won't be able to play anything else. So just keep that in mind. That is the final disclaimer, and you're good to go. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, it'd be cool if you hit that like button. That would be cool, and it would also be even cooler if you subscribed. Goodbye.